Welcome to A Therapist, a Buddhist, and You. My name is Luke DuBois, and I am here with Zaw Mall. We are brought to you by the Recovery Collective in Annapolis, Maryland. Go check out their website. You can Google Recovery Collective MD, as in not the doctor, but Maryland. Really good website. They are a psychotherapy and holistic practices with true integrative care. They have Theravada, Theravada Buddhist practitioners and mindfulness and life coaches, classical Chinese medicine and acupuncture, and holistic and integrative therapists. A really cool, wonderful website. It's our website. So that's one way you can certainly support us is by checking out blogs, articles on there that we write, podcasts, and a bunch of rich content in its own right. Also check us out on Facebook, the Recovery Collective, MD. We provide all of our articles that we write on there as well, and a good place for the community, for a therapist, a Buddhist, and you to meet up and talk to us, and our community can connect there as well. One more thing that I do want to say. If you've listened to more than 3 episodes, is all I'm going to ask them for a favor.
Okay, what is that?
And that favor is for them to, if they haven't yet, either click the plus sign, the heart sign, and the follow sign, which means if you're coming back for a 4th time or more, and if you haven't followed us or liked us on the podcasting platform that you're on, like Apple Podcasts or Google or TuneIn, and we're on all the major ones. I've heard it say this, that is our contract agreement, our handshake agreement, that we offer valuable information for the listeners, and it's free. So the handshake agreement is provide us with a like and a comment. That would mean a lot to us and really help us get to more potential listeners. So that's what I'm asking. If you've listened to at least 3 episodes, and if you listen to all 8, 9, or 10, then we really want you to comment and share. You can also join us in like our Facebook group, the Recovery Collective, on Facebook as well. So how's that?
That sounds great. That's good. A great way to start. And yeah, happy to be here. This is Zaw. With all that being said, I just want to express my gratitude and appreciation for this space. It's been really fun. Which is also just reflecting on our experience so far, which has been fun. It's the sound world in a way. And yeah, we'll just keep it going.
Yeah, we're really enjoying it. So continue to like it and listen, because we don't want to stop this. We're having a lot of fun with it. Our topic today, is there really no safe amount of drinking out there, Zal?
Wow.
So there's been the World Health Organization at the beginning of 2023 this year came out with a report really stating that there are no healthy or appropriate amounts of alcohol out there. You know, we often have heard in previous studies stating that, you know, a glass of red wine per night is good for your heart. It can be good for your health. And now we're seeing some changes on that. When you hear that there are no safe amounts of alcohol that you can drink, what comes to your mind?
What comes to my mind is my Buddhist parents and my Buddhist aunts. They are probably going to be pretty happy to hear that. But my immediate reaction, I don't know. That is big news, right? But for me, you know, since I'm sober, that really
we both abstain from mind-altering, mood-altering substances. So, you know, hopefully we give different perspectives in terms of some of the research that we'll talk about, and we're not just the quote-unquote abstainer bias because we choose to abstain. But yeah, there are a lot of research are really questioning the old studies that we'll look at. 2022, the World Heart Federation released a policy brief debunking the notion that alcohol is heart healthy. So they say, and I quote, "Contrary to popular opinion, alcohol is not good for the heart. In this past year alone, studies have found that alcohol consumption may accelerate," and I quote, "genetic aging, shrink the brain, and increase the risk of cardiovascular disease. Alcohol is also considered a known human carcinogen and has been linked to a variety of cancers, including those of breast, liver, colon, throat, mouth, and esophagus cancer. Now, we often think of that with chronic binge drinking, but we never looked at it in terms of minimal social drinking. Light drinking, however you want to say it, is safe. Well, let's look at what they consider light to moderate drinking. Typically, the research says 1 drink a day or night for a female or a woman, and no more than 2 drinks for a male or men is considered light to moderate drinking. So if you take that an average, no more than 7 to 14 drinks in a week. Does that seem manageable? Not for you, yeah.
Not really, no.
You alcohol abuser.
Yeah, I mean, these are facts, and I don't know, I'm not a normal drinker. My experience has shown that. So as you're talking, it just makes me think of alcohol being referred to as spirit, because I drank for the effects produced by it. So I don't know, there is no moderation for that. There is no moderation for the effect. Like, I want the effect. And then, but the crazy part, I don't know if it's true for everybody, but it is true for an alcoholic, is that I need more to produce the same effect. So over time, the effect becomes more important despite the degeneration, physical degeneration of my health. So can't really, I mean, I've heard this in 12-step fellowship about, which I relate to, that if I'm enjoying it, I cannot control it. And if I'm controlling it, I can enjoy it. So
yeah, and that was always the kicker of the past research over the past 10 plus years, that if you moderately drink a glass of wine, not a heavy elbow deep pour of wine, but an actual glass of wine, that was considered safe and heart healthy. Yeah, and one aspect of the chronic abuse drinker, certainly more than 2 drinks in a day, which is what we were doing, that it's really not good for that too. So let's do a quick little biological assessment. So when an individual drinks alcohol and it starts to filter out in the liver, right? We've talked about this. We have 2 episodes that we've already discussed in terms of the biological effects, debunking the myths and the truth about addiction and substance use and how it affects the brain. Those are wonderful episodes. Go check them out. They're in our first, I think, 6 episodes, somewhere in there that we talk about that. But when you consume alcohol in the form of, there's 3 different versions of alcohol. We're talking about ethanol alcohol. It is ingested in the liver and it converts and is broken down into acetaldehyde, which is poison. I want to say it in a different way. Most of the alcohol in the body is broken down in the liver by an enzyme called dehydrogenase, ADH for short, alcohol dehydrogenase. This transforms the alcohol into a toxic compound, a poison called acetaldehyde. This is a known carcinogen and it kills cells. So when you consume 1 drink, it goes to the liver, and the liver needs to break it down. It transforms it into a toxic compound or a poison.
Yeah. I mean, my opinions are probably biased and not very factual, but yeah, these are facts again, but I don't know, in my culture or the way my generation, spirit, alcohol, there's romance, there's art, there's creativity with it. And many people that I've looked up to, writers, singers, musicians, these are all heavy drinkers. And these, I don't know, I don't really think that way anymore. But like, if I put myself in that alcoholic state of mind, I would, like, these facts will even make me want to drink. Like, I want to rebel,
you twisted, you sick.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know, like poison. Yeah, poison. I want poison, you know?
Yeah, it's saying the liver breaks down so it can get rid of it, but it turns it into a toxic, poisonous compound that kills cells, and it can't separate from good to bad cells. Sounds tempting. Sounds tasty, eh?
Yeah.
And part of the reason why the World Health Organization looked into this and put more focus on it is because of the cancer effect that alcohol has on the body, right? It's directly, like we said, it's directly caused by and related to a bunch of cancers. About 8% of European Union adults drink daily, and about 29% drink weekly. Yeah, I could relate to that. It's culturally accepted. And it's interesting. There are certainly other things over the years that we've looked at and gone, oh, that's safe and healthy and appropriate moderation, but we soon find out that it's certainly not. And I'm curious what the bell curve is going to be with alcohol, because it's so culturally accepted. It's so ingrained in society and celebration and every corner that I think the bell curve for people to go, okay, not just moderation, but a drink or two leads to potential cancerous causing, and it's a poison in my body. I don't think people are going to go, oh, I can't drink anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting. I'm also reflecting on, you mentioned the word, abstaining or abstinence, that, two questions is that what motivates people to drink and what motivates somebody to abstain, The thing about alcoholic is that gets confused. Like, what motivates me to abstain changes. That, actually, it doesn't really matter anymore, So like, these are facts, but then to an alcoholic, I don't know if that would mean much. So it makes me think about, like, I have an aunt who's very Buddhist, Burmese aunt, and then I don't think she's ever had any drop of alcohol at all in her entire life. And her husband too never had. And, as a Buddhist, it's like a precept, part of the culture is I will never drink. So that's how, and then the husband, my aunt's husband, even said statement like this, that unless somebody, like, he's at a party and unless somebody pour the alcohol into his mouth, except then he's not going to drink. From the Buddhist point of view too, there's a kind of like equivalent to mindfulness. There is an idea of heedfulness and heedlessness. Alcohol leads into heedlessness. Life already is quite difficult without alcohol, but with alcohol, we're not in touch with the reality. Yeah, so that just got me thinking, reflecting on, like, motivation. We do things with the motives. So for me, honestly, I drank to self-medicate. But then what is also motivating me to abstain?
What was that like for you? For me, I can go, well, peer pressure got me. Yeah, I wanted to try that. I saw the enticement, the glorification, the fun that can come, the inhibitions that can come with alcohol. And yeah, it might have been a quote unquote late bloomer to the game in terms of really delving into it. But for you and your culture and Burma, knowing your aunts and uncles and your religious belief system, what was it like for you trying alcohol for the first time?
Inner rebellion.
Little rebel rouser, just like me. Huh?
Yeah, the satisfaction that comes with it, But I mean, looking back though, it's all self-medication. I was also reflecting, since you were talking about the podcast earlier too, this is the last thing that I can ever imagine doing, speaking in a foreign language in a podcast. This is the reason why I drank, to be able to speak without any anxiety,
And now we meditate before every episode instead of drink. the social lubricant is gone. Yeah.
Yeah. Because, what motivated me was the effects, because I really was at ease, and which also made me realize that I was not at ease for a long time. So, I don't know, alcohol, I don't know if this is a personality thing or just an alcoholic thing. Like when somebody tells me not to do something, that's when I want to do it. And alcohol was one of them.
Yeah. It's, we both knew drugs are bad, MK. Just say no to drugs. But alcohol, even though we knew it's a poison and we've seen and heard, and the fear factor doesn't really work when it comes to not drinking. It's the social acceptance. In your culture, it wasn't socially accepted, but we knew that the effects of it was still worth the risk reward. You know, let's look at some other things where that bell curve has changed, where they did say, oh, even at a moderate level, it was considered healthy. Tobacco, for many years, smoking tobacco was considered a healthy activity. You know, tobacco companies even advertise their products as having health benefits. Boy, we can't imagine that today. We can't imagine looking at tobacco and not seeing the Surgeon General warning, this can kill you, give you cancer, you can die. Sugar. In the past, sugar was considered a harmless indulgence in moderation. Now we see that as much as an addiction in our society and culture as we do drugs. Trans fats were considered a healthy alternative to saturated fats. So we see this multiple times where our society says, oh, in moderation, this is healthy. I think even though before this year and last year when these research studies came out, I mean, come on, we used to hear the wine was good for antioxidants. If you want to get your antioxidants, you're not going to get it from wine. The specific thing in red wine is called resveratrol, and it's an antioxidant and inflammatory properties to protect you against diseases like cancer, diabetes, and things like that. All the things that alcohol can promote and actually give you. This resveratrol, which is an antioxidant, was the convincing factor that people said, oh, I can have a glass or two of wine a day because it's going to give me those antioxidant properties. Well, actually, research now says and shows and proves that the amount of alcohol you have to drink to get the appropriate level of resveratrol is so high that you'll be drunk. You'll be gone. You'll be shit-faced. You'll be blotto. So that was the research study that happened for years and decades of, oh, it's healthy. And we heard it all the time. And boy, did it pick up steam, just like how we heard in a research paper that opiates are safe and non-habit forming and addicting. And boy, they were wrong about that one too.
Wow. Everything's changing. Facts are changing.
More will be revealed, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, it's but this is entirely new though, right? Like this has never been researched like this before, or no statement ever produced like this?
I just think it's becoming more transparent, and I don't think it's surprising. I think the insight and the education that is more apparent because your liver needs to break it down, and to break it down, it creates a toxic poisonous compound and it kills cells as a result. Now, when you binge drink, it breaks the blood-brain barrier and goes to your brain and damages it at a whole nother level and damages your organs. But it ain't safe, folks. Now, I don't know about you, but I'll kind of give a little perspective and twist. If you're not an addict, an alcoholic, abuse substances, that, yeah, okay, it's still in moderation. I can't harm you for it. I can't... I'm not the judgment police at all. I mean, we do this with sugar. We do this with a bunch of things that gives us pleasure and enjoyment. I'll be curious if they can find ways to do more controlled research that show even a glass of wine a day, how much harm does that do to you? I'll be curious to see if they do that kind of research in the next 10, 20 years. We don't avoid sugar. We just put more sugar in food. So... That hasn't stopped us. Yeah. Did I get everyone down? Are we depressed?
It is a depressant.
So I thought it was important that certainly came out this beginning of the year, and we do talk about recovery related things and a collective solution to health and something to keep in mind.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, this is an interesting and important topic because one of the promises in the 12-step fellowship is the obsession being lifted, So I haven't thought about alcohol like this at all. But it's also important for me because it still exists. I mean, my kids are young, but alcohol is going to enter into their scene at some point, whether they take it or not. But it's important for me to be informed about these. I don't know. There's something very attracting about that if I haven't found any kind of solution equivalent to that, because it's a shortcut and I like that. And after I've had a taste of it, I don't know. I'm glad that I found my way to recovery, but so many things had to happen. Yeah, I don't like that idea of fear because that's also what I suffer from, that alcohol is bad, so don't drink it, which even made it even more enticing, right? I don't know. I'm just curious how it's going to, it is not sexuality. We weren't born with it. I didn't come out of my mother's womb with a bottle of alcohol, So it is abnormal for me to drink, but at the same time, there is something very attracting about it from the point of view of spiritual malady. It is some kind of a solution. Yeah, so it's interesting.
Yeah, we tried alcohol prohibition, and that didn't last, but it helped curb some of the alcoholic behaviors for some time after prohibition. But to try to get rid of a substance of choice, we've seen cannabis become legal. There's some states where they don't criminalize or legalize all forms of substances. So to each their own for sure. And I think the episode before this, where we discuss unpacking the stigma and barriers of therapy, we talked about mental health history with specifically mental health treatment. And we talked about specifically bloodletting. And for centuries, bloodletting was a common medical practice used to treat a wide range of illnesses. The idea was that removing blood from the body could help restore balance and eliminate toxins. We don't do that anymore, do we? It's pretty dangerous. But that was the common practice. Oh, bloodletting is wonderful treatment. Oh, not alcohol at any level, but alcohol at small amounts is okay. Things change. We evolve. Speaking of an evolution, Zal, you and I are going to a retreat much later this year in October, right?
Correct. Yes. How do you feel about that?
Well, let them know about this retreat.
Okay. It is a 5-day Noble Silence retreat.
This is a 5-day silent retreat. Zal is smiling. I am nervous. So tell the listeners the purpose and the intent of going to a residential retreat in silence. Hey listeners, we've got something extraordinary to share, a chance to reshape your journey no matter where you are. You're familiar with Zal Maul's insights on our podcast, but there's more. Through the Recovery Collective, he offers life, mindfulness, recovery coaching, and meditation groups guiding you toward a fulfilled and mindful existence, no matter your location. Zal's journey from a Burmese Buddhist novice to a skilled practitioner equips him with timeless wisdom and contemporary strategies. Whether you're navigating life's shifts, seeking clarity, or pursuing self-awareness, Zal's coaching serves as a compass guiding you toward success. The best part? Zal's approach centers on your growth and empowerment. He equips you with tools to tap into your inner strengths for continuous evolution no matter where you are. Ready to take that next step in your personal growth journey? Connect with Zal Maul and the Recovery Collective at 240-813-8135 from anywhere in the world. Investigating in your journey reaps immeasurable rewards. Let Zal Maul guide you toward resilience, clarity, and empowerment no matter where life finds you. Now, let's transition back into our conversation. Stay tuned, stay curious, and keep your journey growing.
Yeah, so I did one recently. I'm not used to the Americanized version of it, but there's some Vipassana retreat back in Burma, and then my monkhood experience. But what I have learned from the purpose and also what I learned I did a 3-day silent retreat last year in September in North Carolina. And the purpose is that getting to know, well, I mean, first of all, what I learned is that a lot is being communicated without words. And also, I can really watch my thoughts when I'm talking a lot. And then many thoughts happen in silence, and those are the powerful ones. So it really, because in Buddhism, there are only 3 actions that a soul or one can take, which is one is verbal, one is thought, mental, and speech. Physical, mental, and verbal. So the noble silence comes from wazi. Wazi is a term for speech. So when speech is completely stopped, the mental and the physical becomes very pronounced. So what I learned from that experience is that, wow, a lot is being communicated without words. So it's a very powerful experience. So I'm curious how it's going to be like for you. So the purpose is...
You're curious how it's going to be like for me.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, I'm nervous how it's going to be like for me. But you said it's physical thing?
Physical, mental, verbal.
And those, because I was in my head thinking about the retreat, going, oh my gosh, how do I sit with my thoughts and not talk and escape? What is physical?
Yes, physical, mental, verbal. So physical...
What is physical, mental, and verbal?
Oh, okay. So just like how we interact with the world, okay. Like how we communicate. So physical can be, I mean, from the point of view of karma, karma means action. So kayaka, which is physical, and then wajika, manoga, and these are Buddhist terms. So like from the point of view of loving kindness, a physical action be like, I wash the dishes, when I feel thankful at somebody's dinner. And then the mental action would be like, oh, may this person be happy, healthy, free from danger, free from anger. I send out those loving kindness thoughts mentally. But also there is something verbal where I say thank you to somebody. So these are all different degrees of action, how we communicate with the world.
So going to not a 3-day, but a 5-day silent retreat, I guess I'll be in connection with my physical and my mental forms of communication.
Yes.
What else will I be in from your experience of your previous silent retreat or retreats or retreat?
I've done multiple retreats, yeah.
What have been some of your experiences? Because I'm already like ramping up going, okay, I might be able to do 3 days, but not hearing my voice or allowing my mind to exhale through my words. I might feel a little bit more trapped. So I imagine that 4th day and 5th day is a whole new level up frequently for realization and insight, and probably quite powerful and spiritual.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's a crux or a period of, oh boy. So I don't even know if I asked you a question in that, as I'm just free associating and letting you know my fears for October.
Yeah. Again, I'm very curious. I'll be there with you. So, but I also wanted to, not that this will happen to you, but it's quite common for people to leave in the second or sometimes first day, or like having a strong desire to leave. And that's where the magic happens. You end up staying anyway. So that's... the
magic happens in suffering.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
Check out our previous episode on suffering.
Yeah, learning how to be with uncomfortableness, so that's also a really... And a sense of community, that's what I appreciate about it. It's not like I go into the forest by myself alone, there is a sense of community. And that's what I was trying to say earlier too, that when I am not communicating using words to talk to other people, when I'm not hearing other people talk to me, my only means become physical and mental. And it's like it is silent. So mind goes crazy, which is a good training, that mind is looking for something to dwell on, But when that happens, my go-to are like, oh, the person that I'm seeing, may this person be happy. And then I also found other avenues to communicate to other people, like not like hands gesture and like sign language, not necessarily, but just that a lot is being communicated, with my physical body. So it's a very beautiful process. So
you're
I think
not
you're gonna
just trapped with your thoughts in your own mind. You're still, what are some of the events that are happening in these 5 days so people can get an understanding of the retreat breakdown schedule? Because now, mind you, they do encourage you, obviously, to not get on your phone. They encourage you to not escape your mind by reading or even note-taking. And of course, my first thought before reading all the recommendations and itineraries, like, oh, I'll be able to read, I'll do that. But that's encouraged to not. So, but what is some of the itinerary that will happen on a day-to-day basis?
nothing exciting.
Shit.
Walking meditation, group meditation, mindful eating, that's about it. And then it repeats over and over again.
Speaking for myself, but maybe some listeners that are laughing, why would you put yourself through this? And I know you already said that, but why would I put myself through this? So I'm cringing. I'm wiggling in my chair.
Yeah, a way to unplug and refresh and nourish, because you've mentioned this before too. We live in a society of distraction, right? Like solitude is overrated. Even if I'm alone, I want to be plugged in, to something. So the retreat really is not to like escape from the world, not to like abandon the world and then disconnect, but it's just that what is the purity of my mind? Who am I truly? I've heard some stories too in back in my culture where somebody would try out. I was also one of them. I had that thought, like after trying out monkhood experience. So there are some people who just fell in love with that, and they were like, "Yeah, why do I even want to go back to the society?" Some people went into permanent monkhood. That is not the purpose, but it definitely gives one a really refreshed look upon like how precious relationships are, what you do as your job, or where you live. When something's unplugged, you appreciate, this is what my mind is without distraction. And I don't think I can't really express unless you actually try it. It's a very experiential learning.
Yeah, I imagine that there can be very cathartic emotional release too for some people in terms of the other side of the entrapment that I could feel, especially living in a society of complete distraction and maybe some unhealthy forms of connection to this mindful practice with myself and still with other people. But I imagine there can be some powerful emotional releases being in touch with myself in a way that I've never even contemplated before, to agreeing to do this with you.
Yeah, no expectations.
Yeah.
It'll be fun. Yeah. And to circle this back to the abstinence, in the beginning, there's like I don't know if it's like a traditional way of describing it, but I've heard it in this series, is that the Buddhist path is there's a refrain, there's the cultivation, and there's the renunciation. So the refrain part is interesting because that's where the ethics and the morality, there are codes that I have to follow. And then when I follow that, something arises from within. So like when I refrain from false speech, when I refrain from lying, something truthful comes out. But then before doing that, there's a refrain from not speaking at all. When that happens, you end up watching your thoughts before you speak. So like refrain is part of the process. And then after that refrain is structure, there is a cultivation part. So when that truth comes out, you end up cultivating it. So how do I multiply it? How do I keep, making it more available to me? And then the renunciation part is, how do I give it back? How do I practice generosity? So that is the process that I've heard of. So in a way, you're 5-day in the beginning, refraining. In the middle, you'll be like, oh, I like this. How do I keep doing it? And then towards the end, you'll be like, oh, I love everybody. I just want to give it all away. That's what I'm imagining. What will happen to you, Luke?
Okay. Excellent. So I'm sure we'll talk more about this in future episodes, as I feel like I need to train to prepare myself for a 5-day silent retreat. Well, that's that. I'm shook. Well, I hope you guys like episode in terms of, a little bit of current event stuff with the no amount of alcohol is healthy, which I don't think it's too much of a surprise. If you want to get your antioxidants and if you want to get your anti-inflammatory pieces, I would recommend get it another way. I do want to say this, that I always was boggled by people that just want 1 or 2 drinks. I didn't understand it. I didn't get the mind-altering, mood-altering effect from 1 or 2 drinks. People tell me that's alcoholic thinking. I think the people that just want 1 drink and don't want to get the altered mood, I think that's the wild. Why would you poison yourself and not get the mind-altering, mood-altering effect?
Or get a drink and not finish it.
Yeah. Well, we're alcoholics in recovery, so that's true. That. So, but hopefully this gives you guys a little perspective and enjoyment. And once again, we hope you remember our handshake agreement. If you like what you're hearing in previous episodes and this, and you continue, we appreciate the ones that you have listened to. And if you are going to listen to next week's episode, please like, comment, follow, and share. That really helps us out. That is our almost our currency in terms of providing this free platform that's entertaining, informational, and hopefully a collective solution to health and wellness for you. We'll bring on more guests in the future. We got quite a few lined up, and we're excited to continue this process. And Zoe, I believe the average number of first-time podcasts is like 7 or 8, and I think we passed it.
Oh, nice.
So we'll keep going.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone. My name is Luke.
And this is Zal. Thank you all for listening.
See you next time.